Boom! We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. I have some superb news for you guys. I've actually recorded this video twice in smaller segments. I'm having internet problems. I recorded it in my car when I first heard of the news, and I wanted to get some content out there immediately. So hopefully this one is good. But of course, the news that I'm talking about is legacy recruit and the brother of former Iowa Hawkeye Aose Epenesa, Iose Epenesa, choosing the Iowa Hawkeyes. This is massive news. This is going to be by far the best commitment that Iowa has in this class. This was the crown jewel. This was the one that they had to land. So I'm going to just really delve into it. I have had you guys covered every step of the way with this. The 2025 recruiting class is probably the recruiting class that I have covered the most extensively, specifically the follow-up from the official visit weekend. Be sure to give me a subscribe. At the very least, like, comment. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. So, Iose Epenesa took an official visit to Iowa, but of course, it was not the major official visit weekend that's in late June, that has all the guys that are highly considering Iowa. And he was the lone recruit on that official visit. And I've said in the past that there's a few negatives to that. Number one, you're not able to be with all the guys that and build camaraderie and really gel with that might be within your class. But the other reason is from a school's perspective, when you're able to have all of the recruits there at once, it really does put some pep in their step about their commitment, because they're able to see that there are other high-level recruits that are interested in the school, and they're specifically able to see other recruits at their position that are also on the visit. So it kind of gives some competition for that commitment at that specific position group at that school. Now, the positives to having a lone official visit or lone official visitor is, of course, that you're able to really put your all into it and focus on them and give them all of the attention, which is what Iowa did. And by all accounts, they did about as well as they could do on the official visit. And they were super creative. They had a surprise visitor having Aose Epenesa show up. And it was a really fantastic official visit weekend for Iose Epenesa. But of course, he did not commit. And he ended up taking 4 other official visits to Penn State, to Miami, to Utah, and I think there might have been one more in there that I am blanking on, but those were the major ones. Penn State, Utah, and Miami. That was the main competition for, I think it may have been Missouri or yeah, I think it may have been Missouri, who is the other school that he took an official visit to. But of course, we didn't get the commitment. Not necessarily that we were expecting to, because of course, AJ, or excuse me, I'm gonna have the slip. Don't mind me about the slip. Of course, I'm used to saying AJ. I'm not as used to saying Iose, but I need to get used to saying it. But ultimately, Iose was able to see all of these schools, and his dad has gone through the process. That's what my train of thought was there. His dad has been able to go through the process with multiple of his kids and is really a cool, calm, and collected individual when it comes to navigating the recruiting process. So it wasn't necessarily a surprise that Iose did not commit immediately. Okay. but it was definitely something that was worth considering. And I've told you guys before, another negative to, and this is not necessarily a negative to being the lone individual on the official visit. It's more a negative to being the first official visit weekend for that recruit, because for all the universities, they have their official visits on the weekend, and players can only take 5 official visits. So there's an order to things, and Iowa purposefully sets their official visit weekend in late June so they can have the final attempt, or close to the final attempt, the last pitch for all the recruits to land them. But for Yossi, it was one of his first, if not the first, official visit weekend. And, you know, if the person doesn't commit immediately, you can become a distant memory real quickly, as these other schools are able to woo and really push you to commit to their school. And for a moment there, that is what it was looking like was going to happen. It looked like Yossi was really feeling some of these other schools, Miami, Utah. And I would say about a month ago, and I did a video on this detailing it, there was a crystal ball that went in for Miami to land Iose Epenesa. Now, I did say at the time when I did that video that the person who put in that crystal ball did not have a super accurate percentage with regards to crystal balls. And sorry, guys, that's funny. And to take it with a grain of salt. However, national lead recruiter Steve Wiltfong, who was formerly with 247 Sports, who went over to On3, ended up saying that, yes, Miami was in the lead for Yossi. And then fast forward some time, like a week or two, and then we're hearing Utah was a big name to keep in mind. Then we heard Penn State. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Iowa receives a crystal ball from Tom Cackert, good old Tom Cackert, on 3. And the confidence meter was at 75%. And then there was a crystal ball put on 247 Sports from David Eichel. It was either David Eichel or Sean Bach. And so then it really looked like there was some traction. But nonetheless, even still, on three's whip around show, Wiltfong said that it looked like Iowa was in the lead, but to keep in mind that Penn State was really had a good relationship with him, that Utah had a good, basically saying that he didn't know. That it seemed like Iowa was in the lead, but he's heard good things that all these other schools are in good position to land him as well. But I was confident. I felt and trusted the crystal balls that we did get from some of the Hawkeye insiders. They weren't, David Eicholtz was only a 5 out of 10, which is basically not confident at all. So it was kind of all over the place. And lo and behold, he committed to Iowa on a Thursday night. And this is a huge get, guys. This is a massive get. And I want you guys to take a look at his recruiting rankings. Obviously, On3 is the lowest on him, but he's still very highly rated. Actually, it looks like Rivals is the lowest on him, having him as the 114th best player in the entire country. It's kind of all over the place. Like Rivals and On3 have him like 60, 70 spots less than 247 Sports and ESPN. Now, I think On3 is the best recruiting site at the moment, but I do think 247 Sports is pretty good as well. And Rivals is trying to make a comeback. So it's kind of all over the place. He's a 5-star according to 247 Sports, His brother was a consensus 5-star across the board. But nonetheless, he is highly rated. This is by far the crown jewel of the recruiting class. And one of my most recent official visit weekend recap recruiting update videos I did, I said that if Iowa did not land Iose Epenesa, that their official visit weekend or official visit slate of recruits was going to be considered a failure due to some of the other recruits that they had missed. And this was the make or break. I mean, Iowa had his brother that played there. He has a current brother that plays there in Eric Epenesa. His father played there. Iowa could not let this one slip. They just couldn't do it. Failure was not an option. They had to land this kid's commitment. And I did a video, a month or two ago detailing that Iowa needed to land this guy. And then I also talked about, because there were some Iowa fans that were saying that the reason why On3 is less high on Iose Epenesa as some of the other recruiting services is because he's an Iowa kid, or he's likely to be an Iowa commit. But it just was not true, guys. Number one, he actually bumped up a few spots. He didn't go back. But secondly, he wasn't even trending to land at Iowa at that time. He was actually trending to land at Miami. So I don't think that his lower recruiting rankings have anything to do with the fact that he was linked or thought momentarily to go to Iowa. I don't think that has anything to do with it. Matter of fact, On3 specifically actually recruits Iowa commits and ranks them very well. So, but nonetheless, guys, this is a huge commit. I may do another video down the line. This is the crown jewel. This is, this could go down as being up there with AJ, or obviously with AJ Epenesa, but with Xavier Wanpa. I mean, I would say that both these guys have similar ratings. Xavier Wanpa was not a consensus 5-star either. I think he was slightly higher on the consensus rating. I think he was considered a 5-star by at least 2 of the services, but not all of them. And there was at least one recruiting service that was marginally lower on him than the rest. But this is still very early in the process, guys. He could easily raise his recruiting rating, and he could easily become a consensus 5-star when all is said and done. This is major. This is going to look at this, guys. Iowa has already jumped to 37th. And before his commitment, they were in the 50s. They've already jumped 20 plus spots. So where does this leave Iowa with? Well, Iowa currently is in excellent shape in this recruiting class, and they should, considering the type of season that they had last year and the type of seasons they've had the last couple of years. But they currently have 3 consensus 4-star players in Iose Epenesa, Thomas Meyer, and legacy recruit Lucas Algier. And they have 2 other guys in Illinois linebackers Burke Goucher and Carson Cooney, who are as borderline 4-star as it gets. If you see, they are considered high 3-stars, if not full-blown 4-star prospects. On3 has Carson Cooney rated as a 92. Dang near top 100 player in the country. He's 108, which is an excellent rating. And then they have some other guys that have some nice grades, high 3-stars, an 88, 89 for Joey Van Vetsing, 88 for Brad Fitzgibbon. So lastly, just to wrap this up, I wish I could talk more about it, but I really do have to get going here, guys. I can't be talking all night about this. Is who is still on the board? The only guy who is still on the board is wide receiver prospect and 4-star prospect Terrence Smith. He's currently favored to go to Iowa. The bottom line with this is it's coming down to the wire between Iowa and Minnesota for his commitment. I think Iowa really is hurting as far as how bad their offense has been in the past, and it's really making it to where in other words, I think that this kid wants to commit to Iowa, but the fact that Iowa has been so poor offensively makes it difficult. Now, unfortunately for Minnesota, they haven't been much better. So, who knows? Maybe Purdue could be a dark horse, but it really is down to Minnesota and Iowa. And if they can land him, that will put them at 4 consensus 4-star players with a really, really good shot of having at least 6 when all is said and done with the 2 linebackers that I talked about, who are fringe as it gets, like right there, borderline 4-star prospects. Lastly, guys, before I wrap this up, what is Iowa getting? Well, of course, this is yet another great get for Kelvin Bell. He's recruited. Last year was one of the best recruiting classes for the defensive line that Iowa has had in years, which I detailed in my defensive line preview that I dropped last weekend. And so far, this class is really up there too, because the other defensive line commit is Brad Fitzgibbon, who is a high 3-star guy. Now, Iowa ultimately last year had multiple consensus 4-star guys: Joseph Anderson, Chima Chineke, and they had Jack Campbell's brother, who was a 4-star by On3, high 3-star by the rest. And I'm trying to remember who the other guy, they had one more. Oh, they had Penn State legacy recruit Devon Kennedy, who was more of a developmental prospect. I really think that he would have been rated higher had he not completely shut down his recruiting once he committed to Iowa. But once he got that commit, his dad, I'm sure, heavily influenced him in just going ahead and taking that offer, as Iowa is a great school. So things are shaping up well, guys. Iowa's class is really looking good. What I'm looking for is them having a great season, holding on to the recruits that they have, which Iowa traditionally has been done really well with. Hopefully they land Terrence Smith, and depending on how the season goes, they might be able to poach some guys, which is likely what they will do, or some under the radar recruits are able to unsurface, and Iowa is able to land them to round out their recruiting class. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to smash the subscribe button, like, comment, share. Thank you guys so much for watching. Last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow. And facts are feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you guys. Welcome aboard, Iose Epenesa. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.